Hey guys, today we are going to do a full coolant flush on a 2001 Subaru Legacy. This process will be the same for any other car. So first off, you will need a tray to catch the old coolant, the new coolant, some distilled water, a funnel, and a rag to clean up any messes. I included some other things like zip ties and a new upper radiator hose because I needed one. So first thing you're going to do is pop open your hood. So once you have the hood open, you're going to locate the radiator cap. In this case, and in most cases, it is in the front right portion of the engine bay. Now I want you to go underneath the car, look at your splash guard. You may have to remove it to access the underside of the radiator. In my case, I had to grab a Phillips head screwdriver and pull and pry out those plastic pins covering that plastic guard. I used a flathead screwdriver to help pull out the pins, and I wasn't too worried about them because they are old and brittle, and I have zip ties that always replace that. Place those pins off to the side once you take them out, and remove the plastic guard covering your access to the radiator. Now while you are under the car, you are going to look for the drain plug or petcock for your radiator. Mine is located on the passenger side. Take your metal tray or tray to catch your old coolant and begin the process of unscrewing the drain plug from the bottom of the radiator. For this car you will need a Phillips head. So as the drain plug becomes loose, coolant will start to spill out. So let your coolant empty out of the system until it becomes a small dribble. What you can also do is go into the car, put the key in, and turn it on to accessories. Do not turn it on all the way, as you will overheat the engine now that your cooling system is empty. I turned on the fan and the heat, and this should allow the coolant to be pushed out of the system. Let that run for a minute or so and shut off the car. You will see the remaining coolant drain into your pan, and then once that's done, pull the old coolant out. Now take your old empty container and take your coolant and have a friend help you pour it into the container. And try not to spill it everywhere like I did. Close up the old container, and let's move on to the next step. And now we are going to put the drain plug back in, grab your funnel, put it into the top of the radiator, and pour in your distilled water. Now fill up your radiator with the distilled water, turn on your fan, and squeeze the upper radiator hose in order to help get any extra air bubbles out of the system. Don't worry about it too much, as we will drain this water out of the system and eventually put in coolant anyway. So fill up your radiator with the distilled water, sort of squeeze out any of the air bubbles using the upper radiator hose, and turn on the car and let it run for a couple minutes. This will flush any of the extra coolant that was left over and mix it in with the distilled water. Once that's done, turn off your car and do the same process to remove your drain plug as before. Drain the coolant completely out of the system into your tray and discard into an appropriate container like you did before. You can do this as many times as you like. Once or twice is more than enough though. Now before I pour the new coolant into my car, I need to replace the upper radiator hose. I found mine has gone bad, so we're going to replace it with a new one. In order to do this, you are going to take a Phillips head and unscrew the hose clamps that are holding the hose in place. Pop the hose out, take the hose clamps off, and transfer them onto the new hose. Before you put the new hose back into the car, what I did was I took an old sponge, took the abrasive side, and cleaned off the connection points with the sponge. Once that's all clean, Then proceed to place the new hose back into the car the exact opposite way you took it out. Tighten up the hose clamps and you are good to go. Put the drain plug back in and pour in your new coolant into the system. When you pour the new coolant into the car, make sure you use your funnel and try not to spill it everywhere. This car takes about 2 gallons of coolant. Once again, you want to try to eliminate any air that's in the system. So once you fill up coolant, turn on your car and proceed to let the system bubble out any of the trapped air. You can aid in this by squeezing the upper radiator hose. After it's been running a couple minutes, you can turn off the car and put the radiator cap back on. Don't leave it on too long without the cap on, as the coolant will boil out of the system. Once you're done bleeding air out of the system, put the cap back onto the radiator, close the reservoir cap, and make sure that is filled to the appropriate levels. You can then shut the hood of the car, go underneath the car, and put the plastic splash guard back into place. Do one final check to make sure that you have no leaking coolant, and you are good to go. If you like this video, you already know what to do. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.